There are moments in a saint's life when heaven stops whispering and begins to speak with terrifying clarity. For Saint Faustina Kowalska, that moment arrived without warning, sharp, sudden, and impossible to forget. She wrote in her diary that Jesus stood before her with a solemn expression unlike any she had ever seen. Then he spoke a single sentence that froze her heart. "Today, I want to show you where sinners go when they refuse my mercy." She knew instantly that this was not a metaphor. Something immense was about to unfold. Before we go deeper, take a moment and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Your city, your country, your corner of the world. It always amazes me how far these stories travel, and your interaction helps this message reach more souls who need it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to join us in these profound journeys through the lives and visions of the saints. Now let's return to Faustina and the fearful task she was about to face. Faustina had seen angels before. She had heard Jesus speak to her countless times, but what happened on that particular day carried a different weight, a heaviness that pressed into her spirit. She described Jesus not as the gentle, radiant figure she often encountered, but as a judge whose face revealed deep sorrow. There was no wrath in him, only a profound grief, and that grief alone was terrifying. She sensed that he was about to reveal something no human heart could bear lightly. The moment she agreed interiorly, because Jesus never forces the will, an angel appeared beside her. He did not speak his name. He did not offer comfort. He simply stood with an authority that left no doubt. He had been commanded to guide her into a realm ordinarily hidden from mortal eyes. Faustina felt herself leave the ordinary world, not violently, but with a strange, weightless detachment, as if her soul were stepping out of its body and into an entirely different order of existence. She sensed the transition before she saw anything. A chilling wind brushed against her, not cold like winter, but cold like the absence of all warmth, all love, all hope. Sounds emerged first, distant wails, echoes that did not behave like earthly echoes, metallic reverberations that bent strangely as if time itself were distorted. She wrote that the darkness around her was alive, shifting with a presence she could not explain. Every instinct within her wanted to cry out, but she held herself still, knowing heaven was revealing a truth she needed to witness. As the angel led her forward, the darkness thinned just enough to expose a faint, hellish glow. It was not light as we know it. It illuminated nothing. It revealed nothing. Instead, it exposed only pain, raw, pulsating, suffocating. Faustina later said that this glow was the most disturbing part at first, because it resisted the mind's attempt to understand it. It was like a fire that refused to comfort, a fire that existed only to accuse. The deeper she walked, the more she realized. She was approaching the border of hell. Her steps felt strangely heavy, though she had no body in this vision. Each movement was accompanied by an oppressive pressure, as if despair itself had weight and was falling around her like ash. She told Jesus afterward that just the entrance to hell carried a hopelessness so thick it nearly crushed her soul. Nothing in earthly suffering, nothing in physical pain, nothing in spiritual dryness could compare. The atmosphere itself seemed to declare, again and again, "There is no return from here." Then she heard the voices more clearly. They were not simple cries. They were layered, rage, agony, hatred, regret, despair, woven together in a single, endless, horrifying sound. She described it as a dull roar, but one that pierced her being like knives. Some screams sounded like accusations, others like curses, others like desperate attempts to escape a fate already sealed. Faustina realized that these were not just noises. They were the echoes of souls who fully understood what they had chosen and what they had permanently lost. The angel slowed his pace, not out of fear, but to prepare her. Faustina sensed what was coming, and her heart trembled. She clutched the presence of Jesus inwardly, begging silently for the strength to endure the vision. And then the darkness parted just enough for her to see it. The threshold. Not a door, not a gate. A vast chasm carved into existence itself. A realm where the absence of God was not symbolic but literal. She saw fire, yet it did not rise upward. It twisted sideways and down, pulled by forces not found in nature. She stepped closer, compelled not by curiosity, but by obedience. And only then did she begin to understand what Jesus meant when he told her, "You will write this for many souls, so they may not perish." Hell was not merely a punishment. It was the final consequence of rejecting mercy. Faustina saw souls in states of torment utterly foreign to human experience. not because God delighted in suffering, but because the soul had chosen to seal itself away from the only source of joy and life. She noticed something else, something even more chilling. The despair was not forced upon the souls. It emanated from them. Their agony came from within, from the violent collision of what they were created to be and what they had freely chosen to become. Faustina could not look away. Her angel kept her steady, though emotions surged through her: fear, sorrow, compassion. She realized with terrifying clarity that hell is simply the soul without God, fully aware of what it has lost. The angel finally turned to her, not with gentleness but with solemn duty. He did not console her. Instead, he said only, "Look," and the vision opened further, preparing to reveal torments that would sear themselves forever into her memory. Faustina wrote that she begged Jesus interiorly for mercy, not for herself but for the soul she was about to see, because she already sensed how hopeless, how absolute, how irreversible their suffering was. She braced herself, and this is where her descent truly begins. The angel led her beyond the threshold, where the reality of hell unfolded not as myth or symbol, but as a theological truth made visible. Faustina felt the weight of eternity pressing upon her, demanding that she witness what countless souls refused to believe until it was too late. Yet even in that place, she sensed the faintest echo of Jesus' sorrow, because his mercy had been rejected, not because his justice had been imposed. But the most devastating part of the vision was still ahead. Hell was not merely a landscape of torment. It was a revelation of choices, a mirror of humanity's rebellion, and a warning handwritten by Christ himself for the world through the pen of a young nun. And Faustina, trembling and obedient, took her next step deeper into the abyss. Faustina felt the atmosphere change the moment she crossed the invisible boundary. Before the vision deepened, there was a strange silence, the kind of silence that doesn't soothe but suffocates. It felt like the world had paused, as though even sound was afraid to exist in that place. Her angel did not speak. He simply lifted his hand slightly, signaling that she must keep walking. There was no path, no ground as we know it, only a sense of being drawn forward by a force that did not originate from her own desire. The darkness around her shifted, revealing shapes, faint at first, then increasingly distinct. Faustina realized she was seeing structures, but they were unlike anything in the material world. They were prisons that appeared to grow from the very substance of despair. Their walls were jagged, impossibly uneven, as though hatred had carved them. She wrote that the places of torment were made by the souls themselves, shaped by the distortions of sin. They pulsed slightly as if reacting to the agony within them. Suddenly, a horrific cry shattered the silence. It was not just the scream of a single soul. It was a layered, echoing torment that struck her spirit like a blow. Faustina clutched her chest, startled by the intensity of the sound. It vibrated in her bones, though she had no physical body in the vision, and she understood immediately that this pain was not external, but internal. Each soul was suffering from the consequence of its own rejection of God. The torment stemmed from the soul's own interior wound, a rupture beyond healing. As she stepped closer, the angel allowed her to see the first group of souls. She had no desire to look, but the force of obedience held her still. Their suffering was indescribable, not because of the flames, though she saw fire unlike any fire on earth, but because every soul understood fully what it had lost. They were created for eternal love, and now they existed in eternal absence. That knowledge alone was a torment deeper than any physical pain. Faustina could not help but cry out quietly. She saw souls contorted in postures that reflected interior truths. The proud bent under invisible weights, the greedy clutching desperately at nothing, the impure surrounded by forms that felt like burning shadow pressing upon them. Yet none of this was inflicted by demons. It was simply the soul experiencing the total separation from God, the one it had rejected. The fire that burned there behaved differently from earthly fire. It did not consume, it revealed. Each burst of flame illuminated a truth the soul could not escape. The memory of grace rejected, opportunities wasted, warnings ignored. Faustina wrote that the flames were the fire of God's justice, shining on the soul's own choices. The pain was the soul recognizing its own free decision to remain apart from him forever. Her eye caught movement to her left. She saw a soul isolated in its own pit, deprived of any connection to others. This isolation wasn't imposed. It was chosen. During life, that person had lived entirely for themselves, refusing love, refusing mercy. Now the soul existed in the perfected form of that choice, alone, unreachable, unable to give or receive even the faintest spark of affection. Faustina realized that hell is not a community of the damned but a scattering of isolated prisons, each soul locked in the distortion it embraced on earth. As she walked, she sensed the presence of demons, not as torturers, but as witnesses to the soul's misery. They mocked, they jeered, they echoed the soul's regret with poisonous delight. She noted with horror that the souls did not resist the demons. They did not turn toward God or seek mercy. They cursed, they raged, they rejected even the possibility of salvation. Faustina understood then that hell is the final fixation of the soul in its chosen rebellion. She asked interiorly why the souls didn't cry out to God even now. The angel answered, not with words she heard, but with knowledge pressed into her spirit. The souls could not turn toward God because they no longer wanted him. Their wills were fixed, unyielding, turned permanently inward. It wasn't that God refused them, it was that they refused God eternally. She felt a deep sorrow for them, a sorrow so heavy she trembled. The angel guided her deeper, allowing her to witness torment specific to certain patterns of sin. She saw souls who had sinned through hatred writhing in shadows that resembled their anger. Souls who had sinned through impurity endured distortions of love that burned without warmth. Souls of the proud were weighed down by a heaviness that seemed to crush them endlessly. Faustina understood that hell is the perfection of sin's consequences, the continuation of one's rejection of God without the distractions of earthly life. Suddenly, she felt an intense wave of heat, spiritual, not physical, rushing toward her. She turned her head and saw immense furnaces, each one a living embodiment of interior torment. She wrote later that the souls did not burn from outside but from within, as though the fire rose from their own rebellion. The flames revealed more than they destroyed. They exposed the truth the soul had tried to hide during life. Faustina felt her heart breaking. The angel was still beside her, steady as stone, unmoved in expression but filled with the authority of heaven. She sensed no cruelty in him, only obedience, only necessity. She felt that heaven was not punishing these souls, but allowing them to experience what they had freely chosen, a life entirely apart from divine mercy. She was drawn toward another region of the vision, a vast chasm where the sound of grinding echoed, not mechanically but spiritually. Souls there suffered confusion, regret, and hopelessness. They moved without direction, pacing within invisible boundaries. Faustina sensed their despair came from recognizing that they had trusted in themselves alone, rejecting grace out of pride. Their understanding now tormented them more than any flame. She noticed that every soul retained full awareness of God. His existence was undeniable to them. The horror lay in that truth. They knew they had lost him forever. Faustina pressed her hands to her face, trembling. She wasn't allowed to stay long in that part. The angel moved her forward with a silent urgency. Faustina sensed that Jesus allowed this revelation not to terrify her for its own sake, but to make her his messenger. The angel brought her to another place where she saw what she called the eternal remorse of conscience. Souls relived moments of grace they had rejected, confessions they had avoided, acts of charity they refused to perform. She realized their torment was woven from the tapestry of their own lives. Then she understood something more profound than anything else she had witnessed. Hell is not a place God sends souls. Hell is the place the soul chooses when it says no to mercy until the final breath. The truth hit her with such force she gasped. Every soul there had once been offered the ocean of divine mercy she cherished, yet they had preferred themselves. Her angel paused, allowing her to absorb what she had seen. Faustina felt overwhelmed, shaken, but held steady by grace. She sensed the presence of Jesus again, not visibly but profoundly in her soul. His sorrow surrounded her like a deep, aching light. She realized that he grieved more for the loss of a single soul than she ever could. The angel's final gesture in that realm indicated that the vision was far from over. Faustina braced herself, knowing that the most piercing truths, the ones she was meant to write for the world, were still waiting in the depths of this terrifying descent. Faustina felt the weight of the vision settle deeper around her, as though the very air carried sorrow too heavy for a human heart. She sensed that the angel guiding her was preparing to show something even more severe, something hidden not from heaven, but from the souls who still lived on earth without understanding the choices they made. The darkness shifted again, not dispersing but reshaping itself, revealing a vast expanse where the torment was not noise or flame, but silence so absolute it crushed the spirit. This silence belonged to souls who had lived in spiritual lukewarmness, those who neither openly rejected God nor loved him with sincerity. Faustina recognized instantly the chilling truth. These souls had drifted into condemnation not through dramatic rebellion, but through neglect, indifference, and comfortable habit. They had lived without prayer, without conversion, without love. Now they existed in a torment that reflected their own choices, a paralysis of the soul, an interior emptiness that devoured itself without end. The angel let her feel the atmosphere surrounding them. It was a suffocating fog of despair, thick with the weight of unrealized grace. Faustina understood that these souls suffered most from the knowledge of what they could have been. Their torment was formed not by what they had done, but by what they had refused to do. She heard no screams from them, only a low, endless murmur like the sound of regret echoing inside a cavern. It pierced her more deeply than the cries she had heard earlier. She wanted to speak, to ask why such souls had fallen, but the answer appeared in her heart before the question left her thoughts. She remembered Jesus' own words in the diary, "The lukewarm soul wounds my heart most painfully." These souls had wounded Christ not by hatred but by indifference, by treating his love as something optional, secondary, unimportant. Their punishment reflected that indifference, an interior world stripped of meaning, purpose, and joy, leaving only the hollow shadow of the life they wasted. The angel then led her to another region, where the torment was entirely different. Here she saw souls bound by chains that were not metal, but the consequences of their own sins. The chains tightened with their movement, gripping them more tightly each time they attempted to shift or escape. Faustina instantly recognized the symbolism. These souls had lived in slavery during life, slavery to vice, to habits they refused to fight, to addictions they defended rather than confessed. Each chain represented a sin rationalized, a confession avoided, a grace rejected. Their suffering was not chaotic, but rhythmic, like the pulse of a wound. Every contraction of the chains reminded them of the moments they knew the truth, but chose comfort over repentance. The angels did not tighten the chains. The souls tightened them themselves. Their own will had shaped the prison they now inhabited. Faustina felt tears rise, but she pushed them back. She knew she had to witness every part of this revelation without turning away, or the message entrusted to her would lose its force. Suddenly, the landscape shifted violently. A rushing whirlwind of wailing passed by her as souls were pulled toward a vast chasm, glowing with a fire unlike earthly flame, bright, white-hot, and filled with living anguish. Faustina instinctively stepped back, feeling a spiritual heat radiate outward. She realized these were souls whose sin had been deliberate hatred, souls who had rejected God with venom, not weakness. Their fall into the abyss was swift, almost instantaneous, as though gravity itself had accelerated under the weight of their rebellion. Here the torment was not regret but fury. The souls raged, not just at their suffering, but at the God they had refused to love. They screamed his name not in prayer, but in curse. Faustina recoiled at the violent spiritual energy radiating from them. She understood that these souls were hardened, immovable, locked in an eternal posture of defiance. Hell did not make them hate. They brought their hatred with them, and it consumed them now without restraint. Her angel shielded her slightly, and for a moment, the torment faded into the background. Faustina sensed that she was approaching the heart of the vision, the very reason Jesus had sent her here. She felt a growing presence, not frightening but overwhelming, like the weight of absolute truth descending upon her soul. The angel turned to her, and without speaking, communicated something she felt rather than heard. "You must witness this for the world." The darkness ahead softened, giving way to an opening where Faustina sensed a sorrow deeper than any torment she had seen. It was the sorrow of Christ himself, a sorrow not of vengeance but of wounded love. Suddenly, she felt his presence so strongly that her knees weakened. She did not see him, but she felt him, like a light behind the veil. His sorrow wrapped around her, tender yet crushing, as though he were allowing her to feel a small fraction of his own heart's pain for the souls who had rejected him. The knowledge came to her with painful clarity. Jesus had not wanted a single soul in this place, not one. Each soul here had been offered grace, sometimes many times, with infinite patience, and each soul had said no, not once but repeatedly, until the no hardened into their eternal choice. She felt his grief for them, a grief that was infinite, yet accepted with the dignity of divine justice. Then came the most startling part of the vision. Faustina saw what she later described as the greatest torment of all, the permanent loss of God. She did not see it with her eyes but experienced it interiorly. For a brief instant, mercifully brief, she felt the absence of God's presence, the withdrawal of his love, the silence where his voice should have been. It was so unbearable, so spiritually suffocating that she staggered. If the angel had not steadied her, she would have collapsed completely. She understood instantly that this was the essence of hell, not fire, not pain, not demons, but the eternal, irreversible separation from the one the soul was created to love. Nothing could compensate for that absence. No creature, no pleasure, no memory could fill the void left by God. She felt a cry rise inside her, not from fear but from a longing so deep it tore at her being. And then, the presence of God returned, flooding her with peace and anchoring her back into herself. The angel lifted his hand, and the vision began to withdraw. The torments faded, the cries softened, the flames dimmed. Faustina sensed herself being carried upward, as though transported from a cavern into open air. She felt light again, surrounded by the gentleness of her guardian's presence. But the knowledge remained. Every detail, every torment, every truth seared into her soul so she would never forget it. As the darkness dissolved completely, she heard a voice, not external, but unmistakably Jesus, speaking within her heart. "Write what you have seen, for the salvation of souls." His tone carried sorrow, authority, and infinite love. Faustina felt her heart burning with urgency. She knew this vision was not for her alone. It was a warning for the world, a world increasingly indifferent to sin, increasingly confident in its own self-sufficiency. When her eyes opened again, she was back in her cell. The flame of her small candle flickered softly. Her hands trembled. She pressed them together and whispered a prayer for every soul she had seen, souls she would never meet, yet souls God longed to save. She felt weak, shaken, but filled with a mission that would shape the pages of her diary and touch the whole church. Faustina picked up her pen. She began to write, not to terrify the world, but to awaken it. Hell was real, God's mercy was real, and the time to choose was now, while the heart could still turn, while the will was still free, while grace still knocked gently, rather than thundered in warning.